Around 3000 BC, the first ever party was partied, at least from our understanding. Now these parties or celebrations were celebrated by Egyptians and everyone after, up until present day. There are so many different versions of them, from birthday party, surprise party, dinner party, garden party. On top of all of that, there is also video game parties, or well, party video games. Now, the party game category can be kind of anything. The most popular one is, of course, Mario Party, which Nintendo, still develops to this day. And other games that can fall into that category, one of them that pops into my mind is Fall Guys, which kind of takes you through multiple different game modes and just has you compete to win at the very end. But in today's video, we are going to be covering specifically more of the party game style, like Mario Party. And the game that I'm talking about is Viva Pinata Party Animals. The Viva Pinata franchise, where you have a garden that you take care of piñatas that represent animals, and through that you are then able to romance them, to make more of them, to send them off to have kids play with them, and that's kind of the whole objective of the game. But not this one. You see, this is just your normal party game. At least I think. I haven't actually played Mario Party, so don't judge me please. But in this, it's the same formula of you have to compete against other people if it's online, or against computer, or if you have a spare controller. You hop into the game and then you just compete against each other to see who wins at the very end. You can play as multiple different characters, which we will be getting into, and stuff like that. Now, of course, I have covered multiple different Viva Pinata games, or at least 2 previous Viva Pinata games, but somehow I managed to get 3 videos out of that. If you don't know, I have covered Viva Pinata, which is the first one, and then Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise, which is Viva Pinata 2. There is one more Viva Pinata game that I've never actually covered, and it is Viva Pinata Pocket Paradise, which is on the DS. I am trying to manifest a way to play that, so be on the lookout for that if you're curious, because I can't stop playing these games. I've never played this one before, so this was definitely an interesting journey. And if you're wondering, I kind of really loved it. Guilty pleasure. But this game is actually different from the video games. It has nothing really to do with them apart from characters, and is way more connected to the Viva Pinata show, which we will be also looking at a tiny bit. So yeah, if you're looking forward to the rest of the video, be sure to subscribe, be sure to drop a like at the video, and let's get right into this bad boy. Now, the first thing we're going to be covering is the lore of the game, which is very different from the video games themselves. And as I've mentioned, it actually follows the show, which has 2 seasons, and you can actually watch all of those episodes of the seasons for free online if you're curious. So I'm going to link that in the description if you want to go watch them. It's basically like a normal kids show back in the day, where you have, or even to this day, I had to watch kids shows, but you basically have an episode that has 2 different sections in it. The first half of the episode is a different story, and the second half of the episode is a different story. Follow characters that I will be getting into that you get to play in this game, and it's pretty good. It's nothing crazy, and I might also cover it in a future video because there's obviously stuff to talk about in that. But comparing the original games that came out, in that you basically are a person that goes over to Piñata Island that is actually shaped like a piñata, and you basically take care of a garden if it's taking over a garden, or a new area garden in the second game, and then you just again collect animals to send off so that kids can smash them open at a party and then they come back to you. It still follows that same formula here, because your whole goal is, once you finish the game, your piñata gets sent off because it won the competition, because the whole thing is a competition, and that's kind of basically long story short. Microsoft actually didn't team up with Rare to make this game, so we have a brand new studio, at least to the Viva Pinata world, and it is Chrome Studios on top of 4Kids Productions, which is owned by Konami now, and also Bardell Entertainment. So it's like a lot of developers. I'm pretty sure Chrome was the original and main studio that worked on this. Now, what Chrome Studios decided to adapt from the show itself is this Party Animal Championship, which basically, as I mentioned, has the whole goal of the piñata going in, eating sweets in a way, getting full, and then getting launched off to be sent off to a party to be destroyed and brought back. That's the overall story of the game itself, but there's some stuff to bring up, I guess, mainly the characters who actually run the show itself, because there's 2 of them. Pecky Pudgeon, which is basically like a pigeon, but they're called Pudgeons, and Pierre Paribo, which is a parrot. Paribo Parrot. Pierre actually shows up at the beginning of every single time that you play the game, but as for Pecky, he actually just shows up at the very end to give you like the reward, but they just kind of look like normal piñatas. They don't have any unique outfits to them, which is I guess a way that they differentiate male from female characters inside of this, because you basically have your male versions of piñatas and then the female versions of piñatas, and they just have like, you know, a wig or something. So that's how they tell the difference between the piñatas. But I guess a fun fact to bring up is that's kind of how you're able to customize piñatas inside of the first two games, where you're able to take them inside of an outfit area, change them up, and that doesn't change their genders, but it does allow you to customize them, which again, the show was made to promote the old games, but then they decide to make this game to promote the show. It's a mess, but I love it. Now let's not linger on the lore and constantly repeat myself, let's get right into the gameplay side of stuff. And the first thing that I actually have to mention is when you load up the game, you get this like very weird voice just saying the title of the game. I don't know why it's there, but just have a listen.
Viva Pinata, party animals!
It just feels so strange to include that bit, but whatever. Once you're in, you get presented with a few options. There's obviously playing local, and then there's playing online, but then you also have options. We will be delving into all of that. I won't be actually playing online for this video. The main reason for that is because I don't have anyone to play with, but also because I'm pretty sure the servers are more than likely not running or as good as they used to be, so I didn't even bother trying, and I just don't have access to Xbox Live. They don't want to waste more money just to, you know, check it out, because I'm pretty certain nobody's playing this game. Also, I don't have spare controllers, so sadly I had to play all of this by myself against the Xbox itself, so it was ridiculous easy. There was absolutely no challenge to it, but selecting to play local, you get presented with choosing the version of the game that you want. There is short, medium, long, and then as well practice. I'm quickly gonna actually just talk about practice first, just because that one is very self-explanatory. If you play the game, the way you unlock levels is by playing it, and by playing the game you then get to go into practice and practice those specific levels, or if you just want to choose them yourself, which I think is really cool, because one thing that I was very upset about was the idea of potentially not being able to do that. And like, why would I not be able to select what mode or what game mode I want to play or what map? And thankfully this allows you to do that. Also on top of that, I guess you do have custom, which is, you know, you just get to customize what you want for it to show up, or at least how much of stuff you want to show up, because the difference between short, medium, and long is just how long it lasts. So in short, I'm pretty sure it's around 10 minutes, medium is around 25 to half an hour, and then from what I was able to see, long is basically an hour long. Inside of that, the way the game works, so we're gonna look at, let's say, long. First, you basically get presented with the same race every single time, unless you select reverse. We're gonna talk about that more a bit later. But then you play the race, which is, again, most of the time the exact same thing. Pierre shows up, he's all like, haha, blah, 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 blah. You can skip through that. You do the race, and then you get presented with 3 challenges, which is kind of like the in-between of another race, because right after those, you get another race, and then again, more challenges, race, more challenges, race, more challenges. When you complete a race or challenges, you get basically a candy meter, which is a way of telling how high you are or how many points you have. If you come first in a mini game or in the race, you get more stuff, and then you get additional things, which is really cool because you get to see more characters show up inside of the game by doing that. Overall, each map, which I will kind of delve into, is really cool because you have like a hippopotamus or any like a crocodile or anything like that. Piñatas still show up from the show or the game. Still, there's a lot of characters, and I really do like that. But let's step back again. Let's kind of like progress from selecting a certain length of the game mode. You get presented with the characters inside of the game, or at least the ones that you can choose to play and just play for that hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you feel like. So for the characters, we have Hudson Horstachio, Franklin Fizzly Bear, Haley Horstachio, Florence Fizzly Bear, Polly Pretzdale, Fergie Fudgehog, Petunia Pretzdale, and lastly, Francine Fudgehog. Now, I'm not gonna delve into all of these characters, but Hudson Horstachio, it's just like overall the Horstachio is like the main character of Viva Pinata games. From the few episodes that I have seen, at least of the first season of the show, he actually doesn't show up all that often, but one thing that's very interesting is he has like a huge feud with Haley Horstachio from what I was able to find out. On top of all of that, the two Frizzly Bears have actually a romantic thing going on, Florence and Franklin. Polly and Petunia is also kind of like romantic, but not really, because Petunia is like super competitive, so she considers Polly to be a distraction because he's too attractive to her or something like that from what I was able to read. And probably my favorite, and like overall my favorite character from the show, Fergie and Francine. Compared to the other characters, you know, like one of them having a feud, two romantic interests, that's his mom. Florence Fudgehog is Fergie's mother, so that's just, supposedly she like shows up in one episode. But Fergie overall, one thing I do really like about this game is he really likes to eat candy, and I don't know if I'm like super looking into it, but it felt like whenever I went up against the AI version of Fergie, he usually won like the eating of candy missions, which there are, and I'll go into them. That's the kind of stuff that I don't know if I'm just, again, looking into, but it just makes me so happy. And overall, because I just love the characters in a way, the way they look, it's my childhood, and just playing the games in the past and just knowing everything about it, it pays off, or at least even watching the show, it felt like it paid off. Seeing them here, I'm also pretty certain that they're voiced by the same actors like from the show, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, their like traits and stuff transfer over, even though Hudson doesn't really show up all that much inside of the show, at least in the first seasons, first few episodes, and it feels like it's more Fergie, Polly, and Franklin's show. Apart from that, the female versions of them don't also show up all that often, like they're not continuous characters. Also, for some odd reason, there are other characters that are inside of the show that they just never brought up, like even Langston. I guess he does show up. Like there's Tina and Teddington, Twingers Snap, oh god, I butchered that, Ella Elefanilla, Leg Les Galagugu, god, that name always gets me, Langston Lickatoad, and Professor Pester. I didn't see them popping up inside of this game, so there's not many characters from the show itself, or even from the Viva Pinata games, because at least Langston and Professor Pester do show up in that. I don't know what the story was that, or just maybe I missed it. I hope I didn't, because I really wanted to know everything about this game before I made this video. Okay, so let's say we select the character. From here, if you have another person playing with you, they select their own characters, and then you get thrown into the game itself, which now allows us to quickly go over every single game mode, so buckle up because there's a lot of them. First thing is first, we have the race, where we don't go in reverse, and it's called Beached. The cool thing with this is that there is this very interesting continuation of these races. The thing that I mean is, you start off inside of the beach, and then you progress through different areas that kind of connect to the past race, because this race ends almost at a similar spot where the next one starts, and then the next one ends, yada yada. And on top of all of that, it kind of goes through a day to night cycle. Like it shows you that it's all actually happening in one day, and it feels like this competition is actually happening, so that is a very huge plus in my opinion. But anyway, I'm gonna kind of like briefly mention some things about these maps, or at least the races, just because there is some very interesting stuff, again based on the show, not in the games, but I'm gonna try to really connect them both. Just watch. So when you load up Beached, again, Pierre Paribo shows up, says some stuff to you, and then the race begins. I'm gonna get into more details about the races themselves, but you do get to play through a few inside of short, medium, and I'm pretty sure it's 7 inside of long, which is like the most amount of races that you can play in one go. This racetrack takes you around the edges of the Viva Pinata island, which is really cool. You get to see some stuff that are inside of the game that you can actually purchase as customizations inside of the first few games, which is really cool. You run through like this beach area, there's pirate ships, and then you progress into this cave area, which I do really enjoy, because then you get this like huge trees locations, which don't really kind of remind me of anything that you were able to plant inside of Viva Pinata games, but you do find Professor Pester's basically bad guys here. They're kind of, you know, based on like totem heads and tiki heads. I do really like that. You also do get the totem heads themselves, which if you don't know, inside of the Viva Pinata lore, basically the red stuff is the bad guys, and they're considered the sour sweets or sour bad guys. So they can, you know, blow up because there's sour bombs, and then there's those guys that can throw up sour candy inside of the original games, but they don't really do that. But they're here and they chant for you, and as you make your way, there's also some stuff on like your path, like let's say tree trunks and different things like that, which is I guess a really cool thing because it kind of makes the journey more difficult because you can run into some stuff that stops you from continuing the race. And then it all ends in this like cliffside area, which we will be getting into in a while, because let's just say the next location is cliff concentrated but also above those trees. But I gotta go over one of the biggest things with these races before I continue, and that is it's basically like Mario. Like, it doesn't feel any different. It's very short. Like, these races won't take you long to finish, no matter what version that you play. Short, medium, long, it's all the same thing. But inside of these races, you do also have mystery items that you can pick up and then use. Do you consider them mystery? You know, the mystery cube that you get inside of the Mario games, and you get to get super abilities or special abilities. Yeah, they're here, but they're represented by like a sweet dispenser machine, I guess, if you want to call it that. So to go over them, we have Fiesta Missile, shoots a missile at players in front of you. If you weren't playing against AI like I did, you'd actually be able to use it and get some really good gameplay of it. I should have gotten another controller for this, shouldn't I? Pollinator, supposedly like pollinates a screen. Again, I kind of had like goopy stuff show up on my screen whenever, let's say, the AI used it. I think that's what it is. It's not very like, you know, pollen. It's more like honey almost, I think. But it also is weird because we'll get into the topic of honey in a while. Water bomb lets you impede other players. Supercharged candy gives you a speed boost. Flutterscotch wings, which is pretty good because it gives you like butterfly wings and then lets you fly off. It's pretty good. It lets you overtake whoever's in front of you if you're not winning all the time. Rocket pack gives you a big speed boost. Buzzlegum honey slick basically pours out honey. This is where I meant we're gonna get into honey. That's why I don't think the other one is supposed to be honey, but it's supposed to be pollen. I don't know, just go with it. Fizzly bloater makes your piñata fat. Well, actually it just makes it really big, and then you just become immune to anything. But it also feels like you almost get a speed boost, but I don't think you're supposed to. Yeah. Smoke bomb impairs the player's vision. Now, one thing I do really need to mention, the reason I'm not 100% sure about this stuff is because whatever I needed, whatever information I needed, it's either super deep on the internet that I would have to spend probably days to search for, or it's on the goddamn manual of the physical version of this game. And I was gonna purchase it for this video, but it's like €8 or $8, whatever you want to say. And I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think this game is worth purchasing multiple times. Even though it would be really cool to own it as a physical version, it just feels like it might take forever, or it might not even come with the manual. So I think it's a bit silly that this game just didn't have enough love. A lot of people, or at least it just was like a 50%, let's say, with people. They either loved it or hated it. It's very difficult to find information on it. So the stuff that I have mentioned to you, like those bombs and whatever, they don't pop up all that often, and you can't go into options to like find out stuff about it, at least from what I was able to find. So you do need the game manual. So if you have the game manual and those things are described and explained to you, if you have the time, please could you pin your comment or something. Maybe we'll see, but I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, that got weird. Let's move on. Since we have those out of the way, and let's say you complete the race, you got to the end, you got to the cliffside, we got the next map, which is called Bridged. Now this bad boy has you going across bridges, which are on top of, like, I guess the mountainous area, because you go from the beach, boom, you're inside of the cliffs area, and now you're climbing on top of those cliffs, or at least with bridges. And the cool thing is you find like these huge temples with the bonboon. I think it's the bonboon on it. I'm pretty certain it is. Golden, which like has archways, and it's just kind of like making this world feel more detailed, because even though the show is not connected to the games, I'm pretty certain everything is still taking place in the same universe, same time, same island. So somewhere out there, you are playing as the human and taking care of a garden. Also, another really cool thing with this race is there's like a train that has like sour sweets on it, and it like spits out smoke. There's some really cool detailing on it, but you make your way through it. and there's like this huge ramp. You jump off of it and you're inside of a town, which I'm pretty sure is the town that you don't get to visit, but you get to visit the people that work there and live there inside the Viva Pinata games, like Willy, my favorite guy. Willy, I hope you're doing good out there. One thing that's kind of weird is because the next race, again, picks off from here and you run throughout the entire like town area. It's very big. It feels way bigger than, at least from what you're able to see inside of the first few games, where you get to see from your garden. It just kind of like looks very small, at least, you know, from there. So maybe it's not the same, but I want to think it is. Maybe it's like the edge of it. Who knows? But yeah, this one is actually not much to say. Like, the race is called Civilized. You basically run through like streets and there's secrets around all of these races, which I guess is something to mention. And it ends at a fountain. Complicated, but not really. Because you see, the next race is actually called Garden. And you're no longer continuing that story. It was like a 3-parter, but you are. The reason for that is because the description basically says, let's change up the scenery. And you do. You start running throughout a garden that kind of has a lot of nods to basically a garden that you would own. It has the oak tree, which is really cool. It's like one of my favorite ones. There's like pathing around the place that kind of reminds me a lot of it. You have golden statues of different piñatas around the place. And just overall, it looks pretty. It is pretty cool. This one, again, kind of ends with a continuation of a story because you can see huge mountains in the distance, which is the next map called Frosty. This one takes you throughout like the winter area. It's really cool because you get to see the polar bears, or I think that's what they're called, the polar bears. You get to see their houses and stuff. You get to run across like an ice rink, which is really cool. You go through a cave that's icy. This race did actually introduce something that I do not like, and it is these snowmen that can punch you and slow you down if you run into the wrong snowman, because I'm pretty sure only some of them are alive because they have the sour bomb on their head or whatever. So just don't run into them and they can punch you and again slow you down so you lose. Which brings us into my least favorite race. That is Cha-Cha Changes. The beginning of it is pretty cool. You get to run across these ski slopes, which offers you a lot of airtime. Then you progress into this like weird ravine, and then it ends by running into a huge building, which that's all I want to talk about this race. I really did not like it. There's not much to say. Like, yeah, there's cool spirals. You get to run into this like cool spirally bit, and I'm saying it's cool, but I'm like saying I don't really like it, but it is cool at the end of the day if you want to think about that or say that, I guess. And yeah, it's the 6th race. The 7th one is called Factory, which also is a bit disappointing. It's definitely the most challenging because there's bits where you can fall into, like, I'm guessing molten candy. Is this where piñatas are made, or is this where sweets are made? But piñatas, when they die in the games, they spit out candy. Am I again overlooking it a bit? Probably, but who cares? It's a game, and I like to think about that kind of stuff. But yeah, you progress through a factory that has moving objects, obstacles, secrets, and then you climb this spirally thing, and you climb it, and you climb it, and you climb it a bit more with doing some jumps, and then you get to the like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place because you made it to the top of the ending of the game. But not really, because if you play this game on long, let's say, because this is the only way you'll be kind of able to play this map is by playing the long version. You then have to do 3 more challenges, or at least a few more challenges after that, to be able to finish the game. So now we can get into the slightly weirder side of races. If you're wondering what I meant by reverse earlier, basically the way they fill up this game with content is they take 7 races and then copy and paste them, but just make you play in reverse, which does offer the perspective of stuff being played out differently. It does allow you to, I guess, continue the story but backwards, so you start at the end and finish at the start, which is the factory to the beach. I don't know, I like, it's okay, it's pretty cool. Again, it offers a bit more of a unique style. There never was additional content, so you're just kind of stuck with 14 races, and I'm not gonna go over the same races but backwards and be like, look, you can see this side of the wall, you weren't able to see that earlier, now you can. Woo! But now we can get on to challenges, which there's 42 of them. Woo! Again, to explain how this would actually work, you finish the race and then you go through these challenges. They can be randomized, they're not always the same, and there's a lot of them. So you better buckle up because I'm going over every single one of them as fast as I can, with a bit of detail, of course. Enjoy the rest of this video, or well, like, enjoy this coming up category of me going over everything. So for our first game mode, we have Raisant Stomp. Here you have to double jump and stomp down on raisins, which are basically ants, to collect candy off of them. You have gray ones that you can just step on or double jump onto purple ones, and it differentiates from like 1 candy to 3 candy. Nothing crazy. For our second game mode, we basically have the same thing in a way, but it's called Red Raisant Blast. Ooh. This one has you doing the exact same thing, but just avoid the red raisins because they blow up and make you lose candy. The whole goal of this is collect as much candy from those ants, you win the game mode. Same with the first one, self-explanatory. For game mode 3, we have Ruffian Tumble, which is actually my least favorite style of these modes just because they're so different. You essentially become a ruffian and you need to spam A on your controller to run around super fast and either bash into other players and pop out a bunch of candy, or get bashed into yourself and, you know, lose your own candy, which you don't want. The more candy that you have at the end, you win basically. Bump Bump Boom is our next mode. It's again the same thing, but in the middle we have a bumper that shoots out candy if you run into it, or it can also shoot out these sour bombs which will blow you up, and again players can run into you or you can run into them. Game mode 5 is Movin' Groovin'. Press the required buttons fast enough without messing up and you boogie basically. If you mess up, you don't get a point. Disco Danger, it's basically the same thing in a way. They kind of like duplicate these modes, so they take an original idea of it and then like slightly change it up for the second one. In this one, you just have to match what they show you and do it fast enough and don't mess up. Superstar Smash, this is where stuff gets a bit strange, I guess, if you want to say, because you basically try and hit this tambourine looking thing with this. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but we're just gonna move on. Let's just say it's a tail, okay? Swing for the Stars. Oh, you're back. This one actually kind of like really sucks. Caramel apples, or well, they're called caramel apples. They look like normal red apples, but in this, I guess the caramel apples are caramel on the inside and then red on the outside. I don't know. That's what they're called. Or caramel, whatever you want to call it. They get shot up into the sky and then you have to swing whatever this thing is so that you hit the tambourine with it. It's annoying because sometimes the tambourine can get angled and it's almost impossible to hit. Yeah. Crouching Stick, Flying Barrel. Our best friend is back. This time around, you just basically hit barrels that are flying around the place. Next, we have Launching Loathers, where you shoot out loathers out of a huge cannon and you just try to, you know, hit the target. Run Ruffian Run, basically the same thing of shooting out loathers and you just try to hit ruffians that are running left and right. There's one closer up, so he's super easy to hit, then there's a middle one, and then there's one further away. The more that you hit them, the faster they get, and then they start like doing a Naruto run. It's pretty easy. Game mode 12, we got Bug Blitz. Our favorite raisins from the beginning return, but this time around you just use a cannon to shoot them. Now they're kind of going through like 3 different versions of the same thing, where you at least use a similar thing, like that weird swinging tail thing, and then obviously these cannons. Messy Mayhem is next up, where you have more ruffians running around the place, and this one you just have to run into pumpkins and break them to eat the candy out of it and then run into other ruffians or don't get hit. Pretty easy. Raisin Riot, same thing, but now there's explosive ants with the pumpkins. It can actually get very chaotic with this one, so I kind of like it, but yeah. Again, nothing absolutely crazy. Spotlight Mania, it's bad. I gotta be honest, I don't like this one. You just have to like go over to the spotlight and let candy spit out on top of you. It's actually surprisingly difficult to do it with AI because they steal it from you. So that's stupid. Flicker and Frenzy, kind of the same thing, but the lights flicker and change spots. Who's Left? This is somehow the most difficult mode. I don't really understand how that's possible, but my brain can't think fast enough. In this, you basically have piñatas going from the left side behind, let's say this like house looking stage thing, and then they walk away, and then you have to guess how many piñatas are still hiding behind this building stage piece. And the reason it gets difficult is because towards the end they start walking in and they start walking out, and my brain just cannot process that, but I still win because I'm good. But yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Also, on top of all of that, the reason it's kind of difficult is because you have to remember which of the buttons represents the number, so more brain activity. But I guess that's kind of like the whole point, is it not? For game mode 18, we have Quick Candy Colors. This has like this weird pumping out thing that shoots out different colored candy, and you just have to quickly press the button that represents that color, so it's just time based. Next is Ruffian Smack Ahoy, where sadly you use our favorite floppy thing again. So that's back. Similar to the barrel hitting, you just have to hit the ruffian. It's basically whack-a-mole. Just don't hit the ruffians, which are again the Professor Pester goons. Sorry, I forgot to bring that up. They have bombs. Just don't hit the bombs and you're good. For challenge 20, we have caramel apple gobble, which you just kind of chomp away at an apple, you rotate it, and you have to eat it fast by spamming A. You win by eating more apples. You get a lot of points for it. Next is the worm turns. This is basically a piñata worm. It just pops out and you just don't eat it, because if you eat it you will lose points and really slow you down. It's kind of stupid. Challenge 22 is candy in the wind. You spam A to fly around and eat sweets. Don't eat the red ones, the sour ones, because they will make you lose points. The more sweets that you eat, the more that you win. This is where Fergie was always goddamn really good at it. Hasty hops or hasty hops is basically the same thing, but instead of candy you just have to go through hoops. Short fuse has you hold the bomb for as long as you can, and when you hold the bomb, candy falls down. The longer that you hold it, well, the more candy that you will collect, but you also risk the challenge of potentially it blowing up and making you lose candy, which I think you always default to 4 when it like blows up in your hand. So don't hold it for too long. You can also toss it at someone and mess them up. It's quite funny. Rough and Rumble racing, which is surprisingly a race, but kind of actually more similar to Trouble in Paradise races, because if you didn't know, Trouble in Paradise had almost game modes like this. In a way, it felt very inspired by this, because I'm pretty sure again this came out before, or if it didn't, well, vice versa, one inspired the other. You just have to like run from left to right fast enough, but also you can get bumped into, which is super annoying, and there's bombs behind the snow, so for that you have to double jump to like ground slam your ass cheeks on the ground to unveil where the bombs are at. Not too difficult. Can You Dig It is next. Go around and dig in random spots and collect gems and other things. Be careful, because you can sometimes dig up a bomb and you can absolutely blast it off. It's quite incredible. It was very funny when I saw that. Tap and tickle time. Just tap the correct button when it goes off on the line. Bouncing bowling. You just do bowling, but it's kind of like in this weird shape where everybody kind of like crosses each other, and it creates this interesting dynamic where there's a potential that you will hit other balls, and it makes it actually frustratingly annoying. Hit your home runs, right? Is that what it's called, or am I confusing something? Just hit all the pins and you win. Tail time. Shoot the butts of zumbugs, which are zebras inside of this game. Just aim towards their ass and hope for the best, and they spin around in a circle. Yeah. Zumbugs in space. That's actually the name of it. The A is very long. Same thing. They just fly around in space and you have to shoot their butt cheeks, but there's like a bunch of things around the place. One interesting thing to mention is there's an Earth in the background, but from the way it looks here, it looks like it has a ring around it, which is interesting, because does that mean that Earth in here has a ring around it? Which, if you didn't know, fun facts about space, because I like space, Earth used to actually have rings, and Saturn's actually gonna lose its rings in probably a few million years when we're all dead. But yeah, Earth had those. Kind of crazy to think about. Snowball dodgeball. You roll a snowball around in like this little hole area, and it spits out candy, and you're supposed to eat it, and it bumps you around the place, and players bump you around the place. Turf toe. It's basically the same, but with grass. You know, saying some of these out loud, it just sounds so weird, but it works. It works for the game. Ring around the candy. Floor is spinning. Candy falls. Collect. Extremely easy, surprisingly somehow very, very fun. Spin cycle, the same, but now with a disco ball that if you jump on top of it spits out candy, and then there's a bunch of spinning. Challenge 35 is burps ahoy. Spam A to load up a burp, and then just spam the 2 buttons that it tells you to do it, and then you just push a boat to the finish line. The cool thing with it is that there's a worm on it, and I think that's pretty cute. Burping balloons. Drink by spamming A again, and then hold whatever button it's telling you to hold to blow up a balloon and make it get sucked up into this funnel. This one was actually very difficult for me to understand the first time around, but yeah, tip if you get the game and play it. Next up is somehow another burping game. They have 3 of them. Dangerous dingy. Basically, it's like burps ahoy, but this time around, you're burping a boat so it doesn't come to you because it has a bomb on it. If you burp enough, you win. It's whoever blows up first is last. For game mode 38, we have Bounding Bounty. This is kind of very similar to Fall Guys, where you have an arm spinning around in a circle, and you just need to jump over it so you don't get hit by it. If you get hit by it, you go flying. So that's quite funny. Conveyor chaos. There's 3 wheels spinning one direction and 2 spinning the other direction. And then there's a bumper in the middle that launches out bombs and sweets. Pure chaos, very similar to the other spinning ones, but again, they're just spinning in different directions. Piñata masterpiece, which has you run around and paint the ground your color. The more of your color that there is by the end, you win. Also on top of that, I guess you can jump and smack your ass cheeks again on the ground to like clean stuff up. It's basically like Splatoon minus ass cheeks. Picture perfect. It's kind of odd, if I'll be honest. You can paint other people's faces, but in like splatters, and you can also clean off the spaces, but you should clean off your picture, because if you clean off your piñata's picture, you win. They really were running out of ideas. Color me not. Color other piñatas paint. It's basically the opposite of the masterpiece one. You, instead of having more of your color, you basically don't want your color to exist. So you try to color over your color with enemies' colors. The more of your color you lose, the less, the better, you win. Switcheroo! Oh, that was 42. That was 42. There you go. That's all the modes. Yippee! And yeah, that's kind of the game. There's 2 more things that I want to cover before I guess we finish up, and that is something that is hidden. Like I stumbled upon it. It's basically bonus content. You have to go inside of options and then you get presented with concept art. The way you unlock this concept art is by playing any of the versions of the game. Just practice, and I guess maybe custom counts as well. I just never bothered playing custom. You get concept art by winning. It's cool. I like this one and this one and this one. They're okay. Nothing crazy. And then of course we have achievements. I was thinking of 100%ing this game, but there's not much. Like, what am I going to talk about? I did this challenge and then I did this challenge. I'll talk about some of the achievements if you want to know about them. There's not a lot of interesting ones. That's also a reason why I didn't do that. We have, as a male character, finish a game while never losing to a female character. As a female character, never lose to a male character. Win 8 challenges events in a row. Collect more than 1,000 pieces of candy while playing as Fergie Hedgehog. I like that one. That's a reference to the show because he likes candy. And there's a lot of Xbox Live ones. Okay, so here we are. We talked about the game in a kind of messy disaster, but it's my messy disaster. Hopefully you enjoyed. I wasn't able to get a lot of information because it's very quiet about this game. I recommend for you to play it. I'm gonna try to invest in a second controller so I can play this with my fiance. And I would love to play with my friends if they would ever come over to my house. If I have any friends. I do. It's just, play on the Xbox. And yeah, I haven't uploaded in a while, at least a video that I wanted to, but this one just spoke to me recently, and here we are. Another Viva Pinata video after such a long time. I have already the next video planned out, and the next video planned out, and the next video planned out. So it just depends on if I have the time to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe, no fun facts, but that's just because this video was combined with fun facts about the show and stuff. I guess if you want to see a Pocket Paradise video, I could manifest a way to do that, and a show version of just talk about the show basically. I'll say if this video gets 1,000 likes. 1,000 likes is aiming quite high, but I think it's possible. This depends on if people still bother watching this channel considering how abandoned it is now. Hope you guys enjoyed the new content style where you see my face. Ooh, brand new phone. Ooh, camera looks all nice and stuff. You can see my skin pores or whatever. I don't freaking know. And fat horse sashio. Funny.